Hey guys, Julian here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to make banging techno tracks like T78. As usual, you can get the full project file and samples and MIDI, presets, everything from this video is available right at the top of the description for just $5 on my Bandcamp. If you guys have been enjoying these videos, this is a really great way to support me and get some great samples. And if you're a patron on my Patreon, it's already available there. And yeah, let's get started. So, first sound here is the kick, which sounds like this. So this is a rumble kick. The way this is being made is we have our kick, and then we have this open audio track which has the kick coming through it. You can see, which I'll break that down in a moment. And this is creating the rumble. So for the kick, it's made with two layers. We have this kick, and then I have a rim shot here which we're using to add a bit of punch to the transient of the kick. So I'll show you. Here is without this, and then with it. So you see, it's not super noticeable. It's not one of those things where you can hear it and say that there's very obviously a rim shot playing over top of this, but it's like gonna add that extra bit of clickiness and attack to your kick, as you can hear. And so yeah, I definitely recommend doing that, and I just have those in an instrument rack. And then on both of those at the same time, we just have a bit of saturation. Here's without it. You can hear, just gives them that last little bit of fullness. And there we go. And then the next track that we have here is the bass. And so the way this is being made is basically I have the kick. Using the routing here, you can set, like if you have an audio track like this, what you can do is you can just set any of your tracks inside of your project file to go through it. So like I can choose kick to kick. That's how we have it set up. And then you just choose like which you want it to be, essentially like what you want to be coming through, which in this case it's this post effects chain here, as you can see. And then what's happening is basically we're literally just replaying this kick through this track. It's the same thing. And then we have it going through all these effects to create the rumble. So yeah, so the way this is happening here is it's a reverb rumble. This is what I listen to a lot of T78 tracks, and I think for the most part it uses a lot of just rumbles made with a simple, straightforward reverb. So you can see this one is just a bit of reverb with a short size, short decay time, 100% wet, and then that's going into this amp. So here's just the reverb. And then you can hear the amp takes it and makes it really rumbly in the low end. And then we filter and you get just the rumble. And there you go. And then there's a few things at different stages in the processing here. You can see this first thing here is this drum bus in between the amp and the filter. So this is the first thing that I think is really important to get it to sound really fat and full, because if you have like just the reverb and the amp and then the filter, that is nice, but it's not quite as fat as when you add these things on. So this is the first thing, you know, it's just making it super fat and full sounding. Here is without it. And then with it. So you can hear really what that's doing. It does make it a little bit crunchy. The crunchiness doesn't really get picked up when you're hearing like everything in the track. But yeah, so I've got that, and then the next processing that we have to kind of make this a bit bigger is this glue compressor here. So here's without this, and then with it. And so you can see this just gives it a little bit more like kind of fatness, because it's evening out the bass response a bit more. And it's not really like making it flat, it's just kind of bringing up some of those low end frequencies. Then we have it sidechained to the kick, so that's just making it so that it can fit in with the kick. And then I have this EQ8, which is cutting at 100 Hz and then boosting the lows a little bit. And then I have those two in a group together, just going through a bit of drum bus and then a bit of EQ. So here's without these. And then with them. So you can see what's happening here is just the drum bus is going these together, making the kick and bass a lot fatter together. And then this EQ is actually boosting the highs just to kind of bring up the punch a little bit more in the kick. And kind of make that click come through a bit more. And yeah, that's it for the kick. From there we have these rolls which sound like this. And yeah, so the way that this is made is it's basically just playing straight 16th notes, and then there's a few little 30-second notes in here and there, like here, 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 and then here. And then it's just a matter of taking that and, like, you know, making it interesting, like not having it just too much. But having just the right amount of those 30-second note rolls in there. And yeah, and then the way the sound is made with this one, I was trying to kind of recreate that sound you hear in Megatour by T78. What it is it's a snare. And then a rim shot being played together. So the rim shot sounds like this. And then it's just being low pass. And then the snare sounds like this. And that's being low pass. And you can hear the snare on its own is mostly the sound. But that, like, from the rim shot is very important to have on top of it. And yeah, and then I'm just low passing those just to kind of make it a bit deeper, because you don't really need those highs since we have, like, so much going on with the hi-hats. You know, this fits a lot better in the mid-range. And yeah, after the instrument rack, I have it going into this audio effect rack here. And this is basically just a very, well, I won't say a very complicated, but a little bit more complicated way of adding reverb to this. A lot of times, if you try to add reverb to something that has a lot of punch like this, like if I just put a reverb on here, here you're getting all those, like, clicks from the rolls. It can be a real problem, and it messes up the mix, and it makes it sound kind of messy. So, the way that I've solved this here is we have this audio effect rack where there's one chain which is just the reverb, and then one chain which is just the dry snare. And what's happening here is we basically just have the reverb chain. It's literally just side chaining this to itself, and then we're putting the reverb after that. So we're just getting rid of those transients so we don't get all those clicky sounds in the reverb. And there we go. And to show you the difference, here is without the side chaining. Here's like just putting reverb on there. And then with it. So you see, this way we're still able to add reverb to the sound without it getting so in the way and being so messy and messing up the whole mix. See, it's a good technique if you're trying to add reverb to any sound like this. Then finally, we just have a bit of drum bus to fatten that up. And then that is it for the snare rolls. The next thing here are the hi-hats. They sound like this. So what these are is it's three here. We have this main hi-hat, which is playing on the upbeats. This is that hi-hat that you hear throughout the track. This is made with 3 layers. We have this one, which as you can hear is the mid-range. This one, which as you can hear is kind of adding like the high mids. And then this one, which adds that punch to make it really like click. Here's without that last layer. And then with it, you see why we add that. And yeah, so I just have those layered together. It's really just a matter of getting the best of all 3 of these to make one really big, full-sounding hi-hat. You know, you really need to make sure that your hi-hats are as fat as they can be in this style. It's not going to work if you have a really fat kick and just a little, like... But you need something big like this. And then that's just going through a bit of reverb, a bit of drum bus, and to fatten it up, and then a high-pass filter just cutting out the low end. Then we have the ride, which is pretty simple. It's just playing on the upbeats. It's really just a layer for the hi-hat that's adding like a lot of high end in there. And I've got that high pass a little bit. And then finally we have this little 808 hi-hat, which this is just playing straight 16th notes, as you can hear. Got a bit of drum bus, got a high pass filter. And then these are all in a group here with just a little tiny bit of drum bus to fatten them up and give them a bit of glue. Here's without it. And then with it. As you can see, it's not the strongest drum bus ever, but it does add a bit more fullness to the hi-hats and fattens them up nicely. And yeah, then after that we have these percussions. So you can hear these in the mix. You know, it's just like those little background percussions that add actually a lot of fullness to your mix. These kinds of sounds are going to be really important because it's what breaks it up. Because like if you just have the main elements, like the hi-hats and the kicks, it's not very dynamic, it's really predictable. But if you have some percussions like this that are kind of coming in like in different places, you can hear how that alone can add a lot of interesting stuff to your mix. So what we got going on here is it's just a clap and then this little percussion sound, and then they're just in a group with actually a bit of echo, just doing 16th notes, you know, just kind of adds like a little bit of rhythm to these. Then it's going through a bit of drum bus to fatten them up and make them hit a bit more, and then finally we just have a high pass filter. And then yeah, that's it for the percussions. Like I said, you know, it's a very simple sort of sound. It's just gonna add a lot to the background of your track. From there, we have this Rave stab, which sounds like this. So this is, yeah, that stab that you hear in the track. What's going on here is we just have the stab in the simpler here. You can see I pitched it a little bit to get it in key. And then it's just playing this little burr. And then what we're getting is a bit of call and response with the 303. You know, it's like this very intense kind of rhythm happening between these two. But all you have to do to get that is just putting like one note every 2 bars or so with the stab. Just putting it kind of like syncopated like this. And then for effects on this, we just have a bit of reverb to kind of give it some space. You can hear that, you know, it's pretty loud in the sound. And then we have a bit of drum bus, which is fattening it up. It makes it hit a lot more. Here's without that. And then with it, so you can hear how professional that's going to make the overall stab sound and how full it sounds. And then finally, we just have a high pass filter. And then that's it for that stab. And then the last sound we have here is the 303, which sounds like this. So, yeah, this is the sound for the 303. Here are the notes. You can see it's just playing this pattern where it's just bow, 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 bow. But then the second time, the notes are a little bit shorter. The second note's a little bit shorter, so you get that, like, kind of call and response between that. And yeah, so this is a sample for this 303. I like using samples for my 303s when I'm making these style of tracks because this isn't the kind of 303 where it's just da 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 da. This is a little bit more sparse, a little bit more kind of just like playing off of that stab. And I feel like a lot of times if you use like a stab and then a 303 synth, a lot of times it can sound kind of weird. You can't really get like that same texture on both of them. But if you do it this way, where you use a sample for both, you know, it's just going to make the 303 sound that much better in the mix. And it kind of blends in with things a little bit better. So, for effects on this one, it's just going through a bit of echo. You can see this is on just dotted quarter notes. So really slow, but it gives you that like for like a long period of time in the track. Then we have some reverb, which is also giving it some space. You can hear that one. You know, the reverbs on the 303s are actually more important than you would think. And you can hear without it. It's just kind of missing something, so you definitely need that reverb on there. And then finally, we just have some drum bus, which is fattening this up and making it really hit as hard as the rest of the track. And yeah, so that is going to be it for this track, and that is also going to be it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get this full project file and samples and MIDI and presets, as well as all my other sample packs on my Bandcamp for just $5. The link is right at the top of the description. Can't miss it. And again, guys, I don't make a whole lot off of these videos, but if you guys want to support me and keep me going so I can keep making you guys great videos like this every day, this is a great way to support me, so definitely go check out those sample packs. And yeah, thank you so much, guys, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.